So, today we will discuss with the expert an interesting topic, the Burmese folk tale about Maung Pauk Kyaing. Yes, this story actually teaches a lot of lessons. From the information we have, what are the main points of this story? Let's discuss the meaning behind it a little bit. Okay, let's continue. The story begins. A poor old couple found a young boy in the forest and thinking of it, so they adopted him. That little boy named Maung Pauk Kyaing, was not ordinary. He understood human language, and you can talk to animals too. Well, that's where it's different. Animals. That's where the story gets even more exciting. The king announced that the 3 questions, anyone who can answer the 3 difficult questions, if you can answer them, I will marry your daughter to him. And the crown prince, I will also give you a position. Many have tried but failed. The questions seem pretty hard. It must be really hard. I don't know exactly what those questions are, but since even the best in the country can't solve them, it must be really hard. That's what I think. So at that time, Maung Pauk Kyaing, he entered the palace and tried to solve it. Think about it. Wow! Using that intelligence, he was able to solve all 3 puzzles successfully. This is very important because this is a show that shows that the boy's skills and intelligence are more important than superficial appearance or nature. That's what highlights the decisive factor, the decisive race. Yes, his small size is because he's a creature. There must have been some teasing, but Maung Pauk, he didn't care about that. Well, his main strength was his intelligence. Using that brilliant intelligence, he was able to solve all 3 puzzles successfully. In Burmese folk tales, are there any main themes that are often used? Yes, you could say that they are often used. For example, there are tales, like if it's a golden lotus and a golden lotus, then yes, the rabbit defeats the tiger with intelligence. Yes. The weak rabbit uses his intelligence to defeat the strong tiger. But the little grasshopper, it's not so much about trickery or anything. It solves a real scientific problem and comes out ahead. Moreover, the value of intelligence, I think it makes you think more. Makes you think more. Burmese culture is worth a look. Thank you. So when reading stories like these, especially those intended for children, if they just read it without thinking, it wouldn't make sense, right? Yes, sir. When children read these stories, I think they should think about what the stories are trying to teach us. That's right. They should also consider how it could apply to their own lives. Thinking about how it can be applied to one's life is very important, isn't it? Yeah. That's why we have to choose our words carefully. For example, if you tell a kid, hey, don't be like the bad guy in the story, they might say, oh yeah, I won't do that. But if you tell them, hey, be like the good guy in the story, be intelligent and kind, they might not take it seriously. That's why I think it's better to choose your words carefully and point out the good things rather than the bad. That's right. We need to pay attention to how we speak. Choosing which words to use is crucial. Saying things like, don't do this or that is no good. Instead, we should say, if you do this, it'll be great. Encouraging them with positive words is the way to go. That's right. If you keep saying, don't do this or that, to children, they may eventually rebel against you. Like, I'm going to do it anyway. However, if you always encourage them with positive words, they will become good kids. Absolutely correct. Now, let's continue the conversation. So, sir, in your opinion, what is the most important lesson in this story? From my perspective, the most important thing is that Maung Pauk Kyaing had confidence in himself. Although he was small, he still dared to challenge the powerful tiger and claim the reward. Most importantly, he solved the 3 riddles. That's why I think the story teaches us to have confidence in ourselves. Yes, that's right. Regardless of one's background or size, as long as they work hard and study, they can achieve anything. In fact, that's what this story teaches us. It doesn't matter how big or small you are. What matters is what you have in your mind and your willingness to try. If you don't believe in yourself, then others won't either. That's why it's important to have confidence in yourself. Yes. If we don't believe in ourselves, no one else will believe in us either. Exactly. So what other values does the story highlight? Well, in addition to confidence, I think it also shows the importance of being humble. Despite having solved the 3 riddles and gained recognition, he remained humble and did not brag or show off. He didn't just stop after solving the riddles. That's why I believe that it's important to learn from those who are less knowledgeable than ourselves and help those who are weaker than us. Now I see. This story tells us to be confident and humble. It's not enough to just be confident. We also need to be humble. That's right. If we're confident but not humble, people might not like us. Similarly, if we're humble but not confident, we might not be respected. That's why I believe it's important to strike a balance between confidence and humility. We need to maintain a balance between being confident and humble. Exactly. Next, sir, could you please share another story? Of course. This story involves 2 brothers. The older brother was lazy and the younger brother was diligent. Once their father told them, "I want you to go to the field and bring back whatever you can find." The older brother went out but came back empty. The younger brother went out and returned with lots of grass. Their father asked, "Why did you bring back so much grass?" To which the younger brother replied, "I want to feed the cows." Then the father asked the older brother, "What did you find?" And he said, "Nothing." So their father scolded him and asked him to go back to the field. After some time, the older brother came back with a large rock and said, "I want to feed the birds." Their father was impressed and praised his son for his cleverness and he even gave him a bag of coins as a reward. Meanwhile, the younger son was feeding the cows. After finishing his work, he went to see his father and asked for his reward. However, their father refused to give him anything, saying that he had already given it all to his older brother. The younger brother felt sad, but instead of complaining, he decided to use the money his father had given to his brother to buy seeds and grow crops. He planted sesame and watermelon seeds, and by the end of the season, he had harvested an abundance of watermelons. He took some watermelons to the market and sold them, earning a lot of money. With this money, he built a house for himself and started raising cattle, buffaloes, sheep, and chicken. Eventually, he became rich enough to buy his father a golden umbrella and many precious things. On the other hand, the older brother spent his money and became poor again. One day, he went to his younger brother's house to borrow some money. However, his brother warmly welcomed him, invited him to eat delicious food, and gave him new clothes without charging him any interest. Touched by his brother's kindness, the older brother asked him why he wasn't angry or resentful towards their father. The younger brother replied that he believed their father gave him the larger sum because he was the older son and deserved it more. He also said that God had blessed him with good fortune, and that's why he was rich. The younger brother didn't just focus on himself, but also helped his older brother and taught him to be diligent. He didn't become arrogant despite his wealth and remained humble. This story teaches us the importance of diligence. Even though the older brother was lazy, he still tried his best, and in the end, he got twice as much money. On the other hand, the younger brother worked hard, but his father didn't appreciate it. However, even when his father treated him unfairly, the younger brother didn't get angry or upset. Instead, he continued to work hard. He took what his father gave him, accepted it with a smile, and turned it into something bigger. This shows us that even if we encounter problems or people treat us unfairly, we shouldn't get discouraged, angry, or upset. Instead, we should stay calm, smile, and find a solution. This story encourages us to be patient and not complain about our problems. Sometimes our problems can become even bigger if we don't handle them correctly. That's